On page 261. Okay, so the halacha here is smoothing, but actually you have two steps to it. One is memachek, which is actually scraping. It's on page 261. 261. So it's the next step in preparing the hides, the skins of the animals, to be a covering for the Mishkan. So you had the trapping of the animal, slaughtering of the animal, and then the removal of the skin. Then you had the treating the skin, that it should be able to be a covering for the Mishkan, which included the different soaking and the different chemical, different salt. 261. So now comes to remove all the hair by scraping it off and also smoothing it. This also includes the plucking of feathers. Now, the smoothing of the hide was such that you wanted to have a smooth surface. And they told us there are also different substances that are solid, and then spreading it out, smoothing it out. So, for example, they give here would be tar. Everyone know what tar is? Tar is in Spanish. Anyone tar?
I don't know.
It's the hot black things that they put on the road.
On the roof?
Or on the roof.
Asphalt.
And then in the
Asphalt.
olden times, they would pour it down people's throat to kill them. Or tar and feather people.
Okay.
I'll keep trying.
Okay. Let's take something more easy.
I'm ready yet.
Beeswax.
Yeah.
Wax is a solid. Then you could smooth it out, and it is used for those who have orthodontists, who have the what do you call
Braces.
the braces. Okay, so now the braces have sharp edges to it, so the dentist will tell you to take beeswax and then smooth it out on the braces, that it should not be abrasive. So smoothing that out would go into that category. Let's take something that's be more applicable, and that would be taking a surface that is a solid, and when you rub it, technically you're also smoothing it. So let's take an example of a deodorant. You have the different kinds of deodorant. Everyone knows what deodorant is? Okay. Now, so you have the ones that are spray. Would that be an issue on Shabbos? Is that an issue on Shabbos, using a spray? Unless you use it for perfume, so that would be a difference of opinions. Can you put perfume on your body directly? So that's a different issue. So let's say we're not using the deodorant for perfume. We're just using it as a deodorant. So therefore, spraying would not be an issue. Now, what else do you have? You also have the roll-on.
Yeah.
Roll-on, how does that work? So you have a liquid inside. Shake it, it's a liquid. And then but the ball that is there, it just rolls it on. Is that an issue on Shabbos?
No?
No, it's just a liquid. You're having a liquid on your body is not an issue. Now you have the other kind of deodorants, which are called, what are they called?
Joe?
The gel and
Just stick.
the solid,
Silent?
the solid deodorants. The hard one, the hard one. So that would be similar. It would be the same idea as you're taking the beeswax and you're spreading it out, smoothing it out. The same thing would also apply to the black deodorant. That would go into this category. Could that be used on Shabbos?
No.
So you cannot use it. You have the other choices of either the spray, the roll-on. With a gel, that is something that I'm not familiar with it. I don't know how much consistency it has. I'd have to sort of see what it is.
So the roll one?
So the roll-on, yes. The spray, yes, and the solid, no. Another.
Sorry, never mind.
Mhm.
I was gonna ask what the opinion is on perfumes, because you said it's.
So again, the Alter Rebbe takes a more strict opinion that putting perfume, there would be moiled reach, that means creating a scent for the purpose of the scent, so that cannot be done on Shabbos. It's called creating a scent. In other, there are different opinions that are more lenient about that. So now we have utensils. Let's look on 263. Oh no, so let's before we get to 263, we go to 262. What about spreading butter, peanut butter on bread? Is that an issue? Spreading peanut butter bread or butter on bread, is that an issue on Shabbos? No, because it's food. So it does not apply to food. So even though it does apply to wax, it does apply to different solid items, but not with food. So therefore, that's not an issue. That could be done. Polishing silver utensils. There you're removing, silver is soft. You're removing a thin layer of silver. As you keep polishing, it gets thinner and thinner. Therefore, goes into this category. Those type of substance that take off a layer of silver, that cannot be used on Shabbos. Same as also with steel wool, also takes off a layer. Now the actual malacha that would be a Torah prohibition would be on the bottom of 263. Removal mud from shoes, scraping it with a sharp metal instrument. It takes off the peel of the outer layer of the shoe, and therefore this goes into this category of a machik of scraping. So at one point, there used to be in front of the entrance of the house, there used to be a metal strip that was very sharp. The people wore boots. There was no pavement, so you just were working on earth. So when it was a muddy day, a rainy day like today, so you'd be walking outside and your shoes would be caked on with mud. So now how do you go into your house? So one or two things. Either people would leave their boots outside and they go into the house and put on slippers, or you had in front of the house a thin strip of sharp metal. Before you walked into the house, you would scrape your shoes and boots on this thin metal. It was very sharp to do a good job because you wanted to go into the house, you wanted to go in with clean shoes and boots. So therefore what it did was it did take off a layer of the of the leather, we're speaking about wearing leather shoes and leather boots, so it would be the same as scraping off the hides. It's exactly that. That is the malacha. The scraping of the hides was to take off the surface of the skin of the animal and take off the layer, the outer layer, and then you'll have a smooth inner layer. So this is, doing that on Shabbos is a part of this malacha. So how do you clean your boots or shoes? So on page 264, if it is a broad piece of metal that is not sharp like a knife or other objects that's not sharp, so that's not an issue. Polishing shoes on Shabbos. So you have two issues that are involved. Number one would be the issue of dyeing, coloring, even though it's the same color, but is reinforcing a color is also dyeing. And then also you have that if you're using a cream polish, so that you are scraping the cream, and that would go into the category of smoothing. Now, spreading an ointment on a bandage or on a wound. So now we're taking, let's say, an ointment like Bacitration, A&D, Vaseline. These are all solids. And spreading them out, smoothing them out, goes into this category. So therefore, doing this on Shabbos, one would have to know if it is permissible or not. The way to do it, if it is needed, one knows about it before Shabbos. So what does one do before Shabbos? Prepare the bandages. Prepare if you're using the Band-Aids, you would put the ointment or the cream or whatever is needed, you would put it on the Band-Aid itself. Or if you're using a gauze pad, you would put it on the gauze pad itself because of smoothing it out. You can't take something that is a solid and spreading out. That is the same as we spoke about the beeswax, the same about the tar, the same as about all the taking something that is a solid like and spreading it out. That is the malach. So therefore, if you do it on Friday, then it's prepared already. You're not doing any spreading because that was done already beforehand. Now, what happens if one is concerned about infection? What could one do?
What?
An infection. Everyone knows what infection is? Okay, infection. So now we don't want the person to become ill. Or if it is already something that is infected, you have to, okay. So our concern is not to spread out. That's our concern. So therefore, what one would do would take from the tube and squeeze it on the area that needs it. And then without spreading it, one would put something on top, put a gauze pad or whatever else is needed to protect that area. But the idea is not to smooth it on Shabbos.
And also if someone has like a very cracked lip, you can put
so that is a problem. We'll have to see. So what I'm speaking about now is an infection. Infection, that's why I'm speaking specifically about an infection, because that is something that is dangerous, a dangerous situation. Then we are permitted to do so. If not, then is the person considered sick or not? We spoke about doing medicines. There are a few different issues involved. One thing is doing medicine. We spoke about this at an earlier class, that what about taking medicine on Shabbos? So that itself goes back to a previous melacha that was tochen, grinding. Rabbanan made a prohibition of using items that normally are ground. Usually you make it into a powder. Doing that, using those on Shabbos, they made a safeguard not to do that on Shabbos. So therefore, since the medicines are most part involve the grinding of the ingredients. So therefore, they did make a restriction on taking medicine on Shabbos. However, they also want the person to be not to be sick. So it's a balance of the two. And can you take the different for headaches? Could you take a medicine for headache, whether it's aspirin or whether it's Tylenol or any other name? That would be a medicine. Can you take it on Shabbos? And the answer is, what did we teach in the previous class?
Is it like if it's a migraine?
Okay, migraine. Okay, so what do we say about that?
Then that's, you can take medicine, because that's like debilitating.
So if it's debilitating, which means you cannot sit at the table, you have to lie down, we consider that halachically sick. So if you know something is coming up, even though it didn't happen yet, but you know that this is the person that gets these terrible migraines, they get these terrible headaches that they cannot sit at the table, they have to lie down, and they know the symptoms that it's coming. So you don't have to wait until you actually get that bad that you have to go into bed. You know that the symptoms are coming. You could prevent it by taking it beforehand. You know which medicines help that you would allow to do. So again, if someone is debilitated, so they have to lie down because of that, so then they are permitted to take it. That person is considered ill. So that is why we're also speaking about the infection. That would also go into that category. You don't want the person that's considered a person is considered ill because they have something that could infect the body. Same thing would also be a person who is taking antibiotics. They're taking antibiotics and they have to take it for 10 days. Among the 10 days are also Shabbos. In this case, they were told that this is an illness that does need the 10 days of antibiotics, even though on Shabbos they're already on the road to recovery, but there was a reason why they said 10 days. They didn't say 5 days, they said 10 days. So therefore, one would go through that whole regimen. And that would be considered the person is sick or preventing him from something that could be serious. And that's why they're on antibiotics. We don't take it for simple reasons. So then that also would go into the category of being permitted to take this type of medicine. The same would also be with a child. So until the age of 3, we consider the child to be fragile. And if a child is not well, we do whatever is needed for the child's health upkeep. So therefore, we have a lot of leniencies that for an adult, we may not use those leniencies, but for a child under the age of 3, we do. And one of that would be, again, what with the halacha that we're speaking now, something that's called diaper rash. So that we do consider that as something that has to be treated, and therefore, what would we do on Shabbos? You take the tube and you put it in the area that needs that soothing, that healing, and then you don't smear it out. You just blob on enough that is necessary, and then you cover it up with whatever is being used. In this case, I would say it's probably a diaper, a pamper, or whatever else name it is. But in that case, we do treat the child as one who it is a necessity, and therefore that would be permitted to be done. Okay. Okay, so we have this is what we just spoke about, this on page 265. I was planning to do, and I did not bring it, I was planning to bring different creams and see what goes into the category of smoothing and what does not. So we'll have to leave that for another time. So I think we'll speak about that when we actually are able to demonstrate if this is a permissible cream or not. That would include the hand creams. That would also include the different cleansers. Something that's called Cetaphil. You have the face cleanser. You have the body cleanser, which are different consistencies. So one would be permissible, one would not. So I think it would be best if we actually demonstrate and
And for
see.
example, sunscreen and soap.
Okay, now sunscreen. So that would be a liquid. So liquids would not go into this category. So if it is something that is water-like, something that's water-like, so then that does not go into this category. Now, let me back up a little with we have liquid soap, and we have the bar soap, regular bar soap. So using a bar soap on Shabbos, what category would that go into? As you're using the bar, you're taking off layers and layers and layers of the soap. That's why it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. What happened to it? As you're using it, you're taking off layers of the soap. That would go. That's exactly the halacha that we're speaking about now. That you're taking a solid and you are taking off layers, scraping it and smoothing it. That would go into this category. So it's also would go. Not only see they list the halacha as smoothing. Smoothing is a tolda, is a secondary. The actual halacha itself is called memachik, which is scraping. So when you're using the soap, you're actually scraping off a layer. That would be similar. And this halacha would also go to sanding. Does everyone know what sanding is? Taking a piece of wood and using sandpaper and sanding. What you're doing, you're smoothing out the wood. That is exactly this halacha. That's what they did with the hide. They took the hide that was very rough and they smoothed it out until it became smooth. The same thing is also taking a piece of wood and taking sandpaper and smoothing it out. That is the halacha. That's an example, a classic example of this halacha, which is the machik, which is smoothing out and taking off layers of the same thing would also go with filing one's nails. Filing the nails, you have a file. What it's doing to the nail is you have two parts of it. One is it that it goes to the category of taking off part of the nail, and also the idea would be smoothing. You have two parts of these. Sometimes when you cut your nails, they're very rough, and then you take a fine file and you smooth it out that the nails should not have this roughness. So in that case, what you're trying to do is this memachik is taking off a very thin layer so it will be smooth underneath. The same thing as sanding the wood. The same thing would also apply to filing the nails with this intention that the nails should be smooth. So this would all go into the same category. So so taking off a layer of the soap, that is also scraping off the top. So in addition to smoothing, it's also scraping. Now, coming to the liquid soap. You have something that's called Shabbos liquid soap. What was did anyone come across Shabbos liquid soap? It used to be, I don't see it being sold anymore, but it was basically, I think it had a coconut base and it did not have a very pleasant smell. It was like, it smelled like a soap. It didn't smell like perfumed and being, pleasant. So I think they did that deliberately, that you should not go into the category of perfuming. So they put that liquid, that odor, that smell that it had was a very neutral and not one that would go into the category of making a nice scent. So that was one thing that they did. Also, what they did was when you poured it, it poured like water. So that would make it permissible. And a third thing that they did, it really did not bubble. So you have three issues that one might be concerned about. And the Shabbos liquid soap, that I don't see it on the market. So that took care of all three things. So it did not have a scent. It was like water. And also it did not bubble, because there is an opinion that says that taking soap and when you use it, it starts to bubble. That would be an issue of creating bubbles. There are those who are more lenient about it. Most opinions are that we're not concerned about the bubbles that the liquid soap creates. Now, what about the liquid soap that is very thick? It pours out like a thick liquid. Should that be used on Shabbos?
Some water in it?
So what one should do is suggest that you add water to it. So it will be more pourable. Instead of a gel, it'll be a liquid. So the other, some of where it's concentrated, that's what they sell it, that's what they advertise it as, a very concentrated liquid soap that you get 20 times as much as a regular. So to make it to Shabbos, so you'll be using it twice as much because you'll be adding water, and it'll also be pourable. So what we're looking for is it should be a pourable soap. The heavy consistency. And the same also, we would be concerned about the hand soap. So again, you have different consistencies when it comes to hand soap. Could it be used on Shabbos? It's also suggested that you add water to the hand soap, that it should be pourable and in a flowing way, in an easy way, that it should not go into that thick soap consistency. So it would go into the same category as how fluid does the liquid have to be in order not to go into the category that you're taking something that is thick and spreading it out, smearing it out.
Wait, Rabbi, speaking of kids, going back a little bit, can you use like a wet wipe to like change the diaper?
Okay, no, the wipes. Now you have something that's called a Shabbos wipe. Oh, so let's see. What's the issue with the wipes? So regular wipes would be such that they are saturated with a cleanser, whether it's alcohol or whatever else they use. So usually, since it's standing in one place, is anyone familiar with this? As you get to the bottom, the liquid seeps down to the bottom. The top are very lightly moist. And as you go lower down, they become more and more wet until you're actually able to take the bottom ones and squeeze it, and liquid will come out. That's how much wetness comes down to the very bottom. Again, depending on which brand is being used. So what's the issue there? The issue is taking something that's absorbed in a material and extracting it, which is called sochet, squeezing. And it would go into the category of like a sponge, like where you want the liquid. In that case, you want the liquid. It's not that you're squeezing it because you want to cleanse the wipe. You're doing it because you want the liquid that is inside, that's absorbed inside, to come out and to make use of it. The same thing as a sponge. When you have a wet sponge, why are you using a wet sponge? Is because you want the liquid that's inside the sponge to come out and help you in cleaning the surface that you're using the sponge for. So that is the issue when it comes to the wipes. So what we're concerned is about, that it should saturated, that it is that wet, that what's the definition of wet? If you take the wipe, you wipe your hand with it, and then you take the hand that would just use the wipe, and you're going to go like this. Now you have enough liquid on this hand that you're able to use this liquid, that you're able to extend the liquid to the next hand. That's called wet. If it's just moist to touch, there's no transfer. It makes your hand moist, but you can't transfer the moistness to the next surface. That's called dry, halachically. But if it's more than that, that you're able to touch it, becomes wet, it becomes moist, and you put it on the next hand, and the next hand becomes moist as well. That's called tefeach, amanas latveich. It's that moist that it can spread the moisture to another surface. That is something that cannot be done. So they do have the Shabbos wipes. What is a Shabbos wipe?
It's drier.
And also, it is made of a material that does not absorb. So where's the moisture? The moisture is on the surface. It did not go into the wipe. That's how they experimented, I guess, until they got a product that's called a Shabbos wipe. So either it would be something that is, I guess, as experimenting with, it's not tefeach amanas latveich, it's not going to be saturated with liquid, or it's going to be that type of material that does not absorb, but it does trap the moisture. So each time you're using it, using something that the moisture was trapped, it is not absorbed into this wipe, and that would be a Shabbos wipe that you could use on Shabbos. So you look out, they sell now in our community, this is something that is, you would be able to find that. Other than that, if you don't have the wipes, how do you clean a baby? What do you do to clean the baby on Shabbos? What do we do? Yes, you have to use
Water.
You use water. You can use the baby oil. Different things you pour on. You pour it on and then wipe it off with paper towels, and have something underneath that it should not make a big mess underneath. And when you're pouring the water or you're pouring the oils or whatever else that is permissible on Shabbos, that would be done.
In Argentina, we have something that is not common here in America. It's more like from France also. We call it bidet. It's like a little seat
Here too.
next to the toilet.
Oh, the bidet.
So I was wondering if you can clean a baby with water.
Yes, you can clean the baby toilet, no problem.
If you go to the bathroom, you do the second one. Can you use the bidet? It's the same.
So I don't understand exactly how it works, so I can't. So it's what if it's just water, then that's fine. Water, you can. So again, with a baby, we go back again to a baby. We say until 3 years old, the baby needs to be taken care of. It's not an adult, so the rules of an adult of how they to bathe on Shabbos would not apply, to a baby that needs it. So we could wash the baby with water, and if that's something that I guess it sprays out the water.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can have you can use that. You can use that in Shabbos.
So wait, you would put water on the baby and then use like a paper towel?
Yes. You can use liquid soap.
Yeah.
Again, you have the liquid soaps or baby liquid soaps. These could be.
So if the sunscreen is more creamy texture,
Yes, this is not to be used.
no,
No.
we have to use like liquidy.
Yeah.
And you can use it?
You can if it is something that it does have some more consistency to it, you could dilute it before Shabbos and then use it. The example that they use over here, the example that they use over here would be let's see.
But if it's tinted and it's dyed sunscreen like that, it makes your face like look tinted.
No, so that's not then you're coloring, then that would go into another color gallery.
Skincare I can do also.
The skincare, again, I'd have to know what consistency it is. You have to know if it's coloring, what's its purpose, is it a medicinal or not? So all of this, have to take into consideration.
If it's like more.
Now,
we have to probably ask, instead of it's medicinal, like if it's like a medicine.
now we have also, let's, in this category, would also go toothpaste. Toothpaste is a solid-like, smoothing-like substance, so that would be an issue using that on Shabbos. Now, what about I brought in once the Shabbos toothbrush.
There is?
I brought one in last time when we were learning about this. I brought in the Shabbos toothbrush, and it looked pretty good. At one time, they made a Shabbos toothbrush that had rubber bristles. The people who used it said that it's not doing a good job. They didn't want to use it. But the other one that I brought in, it seemed to be fine. It did not retain the water when we put it into water and we took it out. And really, the water all the water all came out. So that was good. So it seemed to be something that is good. You cannot use the toothpaste, but you could use a liquid toothpaste. You could use mouthwash on it. So this would be fine.
So what is the problem with toothbrush?
The toothbrush itself would be something like a sponge, where it retains the water. When you're using it, you are having the water, extracting the water. Okay, so it matters again. So speaking about a toothbrush and also flossing the teeth. Everyone knows what flossing is. So again, could that be done on Shabbos? And then again, it depends on so first of all, you cannot tear if it's a floss that goes on one string, you can't carry it on, but they have the little ones that have little handles to them. So again, the answer to using that, it itself is not the issue. We're not tearing the string, we're not doing anything to the string, but the issue is how healthy is your gum? If you have healthy gum, so this would be something that you know about during the weekdays. When you use in the weekdays, does it cause the gums to bleed or not? So if it causes the gums to bleed, then that would go into the category of shochet, causing bleeding. That cannot be done on Shabbos. And therefore, if one has healthy gums, so then one could use the floss on Shabbos to keep it.
Tear it off of the.
Tearing, no tearing. So they have those they sell
Flossers.
little flossers.
Yeah.
They have a little handle, each one is separately, and that's what you put aside. That if you do have that issue that food does get stuck between your teeth, so you could use that little flosser on Shabbos if your gums are healthy. And if your gums are not healthy, you should go to the dentist and have them taken care of as a good hygienic. So then it'll be good for Shabbos as well.
Wait, so with the tearing thing, so just going back, even though it's not perforated on a
Yes,
certain
tearing
line.
something to a certain size is the malacha on its own.
Okay,
So we'll come to that. That's a category of its own. Tearing to size.
oh, really?
Yeah.
So what we did earlier was just tearing on
That's correct.
perforation.
That's correct.
Okay,
If you don't wet the toothbrush,
Mhm.
can you use?
If you have a Shabbos one,
Ah.
put it aside for Shabbos and use the one without any. So there's no liquid in there. It's not an issue.
They sell it in the kosher store.
Hmm? They sell in the drugstore. They sell it.
field trip after class. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, I think next week there'll be a Shabbaton. You'll be going away on Thursday, I've been told, so it'll be 2 weeks from now. And during the week, we have Friday, tomorrow is Pesach Sheni. I'm sure you're going to have class about Pesach Sheni. It's interesting that when the Rebbe spoke about it, he says that Pesach Sheni is a day that you could take care of things going back to the past, even before you became Bar and Bas Mitzvah. You could also Pesach Sheni make corrections for that as well. That's how far back you can go.
Wait, if what you say for.
If a person could make it's the Pesach Sheni, it's never too late.
Uh-huh.
So a person who has to sort of think about their past and they will feel bad about what they did in their past, what they're doing to their parents or anyone else, their children, to other kids that were bullying them or whatever else they did. So you could do tshuva now for everything that you did all the way to the past. And then it also says about
That's cool.
having a positive effect on people that you are acquainted with to also have a positive effect on Pesach Sheni, where Hashem helps you, that the results will be much positive results. Okay, we also the following week is also going to be like right now. So have a wonderful Shabbos. Watkins, Layer Fetterman, Gottsinger, Heidi, Adai, no, okay. Esther, Ilyaya, Abasia is here, okay. Michelson, okay, Malta. Yes. Rushberger, Sophia.
Me.
Oh, okay. So now we put Rushberger. And Rushberger, Victoria.
Here.
Oh, so you are
Sisters.
sisters. Oh, okay. Okay, and Ronnie is okay. Seglin.
And here, so.
Okay, so okay. That's Shapiro.